Welcome to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to a piece by Joe Rogan. We're going to be talking about aliens.
The compelling, there's two.
Well, don't they think aliens could live in the ocean? So, I mean,
Yes.
that's how much.
That was Jeremy Corbell was talking about
Yeah.
that the other day. That they, it's hard to say like what kind of information he's getting, how accurate it is. But they're basically saying, think about the movie Abyss, where the aliens lived underwater. He was like, that's probably what's going on.
Think about how things like movies shape the background narrative of all these things. So Joe Rogan has a cosmology that is not driven by the data. It's driven by the narrative of the movies he's watched or the science fiction that he's read. So we have certain data points. He's going to get into some of the data points, which we have to account for. No problem with that. But I want you to notice that it's 5% data point and 95% cosmological fill-in from science fiction and stories and that sort of thing, which would be representative of our generation's cosmology.
Yeah.
That there's some sort of alien base underwater or some meeting place, or that's where they hide. That's where they go to be undetected.
Do you think you're going to see it in your lifetime?
Bigfoot or aliens?
Aliens. Like, where it's like, oh, like we have to like talk to them now. We have to like interact with them.
There's a video that is impossible to ignore. There's some things that are impossible to ignore. And then there's eyewitness testimonies of people who are rock solid, totally dependable, like fighter pilots,
Yeah.
who have seen some things. Like the best example is this guy, Commander David Fravor, who was off the coast of San Diego in 2004. And this is corroborated by multiple points of data. They had this tracking system that tracks things above Earth's atmosphere, and they found this thing went from above 60,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet above sea level in less than a second. They have no idea how it's doing this. They have no idea. There's no method of propulsion that's visible. They followed this thing. They locked onto it. It blocked their radar. It blocked their tracking systems, rather. And then it jetted off at an impossible rate of speed. And then the Nimitz relocated this thing at their cat point. The cat point is where the fighter pilots, when they're doing this test, they're doing this exercise, they were supposed to meet at this very specific point. And that's where this thing had gone.
Now, here's a good example. This is a good stopping point to note how he is pointing to certain data points that he regards as reliable, and I don't have any reason to dispute that. If these fighter pilots are writing these things up in the reports, and you've got this odd phenomenon, but suppose I filled in the story with my 95% instead of all the science fiction movies I'd watched. Suppose I filled it in, and the fighter pilots converged on this entity, and they tried to speak to it over the radio, and the voice came back, "I am the Archangel Michael who stands in the presence of God." Now, would Joe Rogan take that as evidence of the truth of the biblical cosmology? No, because what we're dealing with here primarily is not the battle of facts or the battle of data. What we're dealing with here is the battle of the narratives, the battle of rival cosmologies. There have always been things that go bump in the night. There have always been unexplainable phenomena that we've had to deal with, and superstitious tribes account for it some ways. Biblically informed generations account for it in another way. But why do we say aliens? Why don't we say demons? Why do we say aliens? Why don't we say angelic powers of the air?
Like this thing had read their manifest and knew, like, or read their plans and knew where they were going.
What's wild?
That is way more compelling to me than Bigfoot. The Bigfoot thing is just fun, but the alien thing is fun and likely. There's something going on, and so I go back and forth. Sometimes I think maybe it's some sort of government drone that's like so sophisticated, and it's totally top secret. And if we ever go to war with China, that's when they're going to break it out. And then sometimes I think what they are is something that's monitoring us and making sure we don't blow ourselves up.
So again, narrative. He's got certain worldview assumptions that he is placing his data points, he's arranging his data points inside that worldview assumption, and that narrative does not arise from the data points. It's sort of like that exercise when you were in grade school, when they gave you 10 new vocabulary words, and then they said, write a story using these 10 words. That's what we do, is we have these words, these appearances, these manifestations. We decide which ones we're going to believe, and then we write a story that uses those vocabulary words, that uses those data points. But where does the story come from? Well, not the data.
Making sure that we make this journey from territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons into some sort of an advanced intergalactic society, and that
the myth of evolution is his driving myth. That's his mythos. That's the evolutionary cosmology.
There's a very crucial moment where the instincts of these tribal people, which is all of us, all human beings, are these tribal territorial people, where you have to keep them from sabotaging any possible future progress by blowing themselves up.
And the myth behind Darwinism basically points to change. There's nothing in the doctrine of evolution that would, if survival is the key thing, we could all evolve into 3-foot-long cockroaches, and as long as we're surviving, that's just what is. But there's a myth behind this of men becoming gods, that is the hidden driver behind the evolutionary myth.
Talk to them, and then when you say that, they go, "Yeah, that was it." Is that easy? Like, not that easy, but like you just go, "Is that it?"
No, I'm the Archangel Michael who stands in this.
It? You go,
yeah,
that's about it.
We're trying to keep you guys from blowing yourselves up. This is like, but maybe that's like the natural thing that you see, like when civilizations advance. Like, there's a very precarious moment where like they have the capability of blowing themselves up, but the reason and the logic to not do it, but they also have these instincts to control resources and take over territories. They still have those instincts.
That precarious moment is not demanded by the evidence. It's demanded by the techniques of the script writer, the person who's doing the screenplay. You've got to have this precarious moment. This is a story. It's a story. It's a narrative. It's not disinterested science following the facts. Yeah, it's men. He said earlier that we're tribal and we do all. Yeah, that's all true. We're also myth-making creatures. We don't just congregate into tribes. We also gather around myths. And Joe Rogan's still doing it.
But they have to bypass that. They have to figure out how to. And so that's when aliens start circling and just keeping an eye on us.
Yeah.
That's the primary.
Or, as I would say, guardian angels. The angel of the Lord encamps around them that fear him.
You would hope, right? Instead of like them attacking us.
Yes.
Because then so.
I think if they were going to attack us, they would have already done it. Like, if they really could do all those things, they could probably take out our power grid pretty easy. Apparently, the stories are that they're able to shut down nuclear launches and nuclear facilities, and that they do that, and they hover over military bases, and that they just shut everything down just to let you know, hey, I can
that's
just
wild.
flip that switch. So don't get too squirrely out there.
That's so
weirdos.
crazy.
Yeah. So thanks for watching our content. We really appreciate it. I want to take a second to talk about my book, Angels in the Architecture, and how you can listen to the audio version for just 99 cents, which, if you round up, is a whole $1. The modern view of the world is empty and lifeless, nothing more than a bunch of matter in motion, with life by the 1,000th millionth chance emerging from chaos. The modern world, as a result, can only conceive of progress as more efficiency, more technology, more domination, greatly improved matter in motion. By way of contrast, the Christian faith presents a glorious vision for culture and a vision of the world in which truth, beauty, and goodness are built into the very molecules of the universe. Angels in the Architecture, which I wrote together with Doug Jones, the book covers such diverse topics as creeds, poetry, history, the church, feasting, and storytelling. And here comes my best imitation of a salesman. The audiobook is now available at mycanonplus.com. If you haven't joined Canon Plus yet, what's wrong with you? Oh, yeah, excuse me. You can get your first month for just 99 cents by using promo code DOUG99, DOUG 99, all caps. My name is in there not as an ego thing. We're just trying to help you remember it.